Have you ever looked at someone for just a few seconds, and immediately decided who they were? The person wearing expensive clothes must be arrogant. The quiet student must be unfriendly. The man covered in tattoos must be dangerous. The woman who doesn't smile must be rude. It happens so quickly that we barely notice it. Before a single conversation begins, our minds have already written an entire story about a complete stranger. But here's the unsettling question. What if most of those stories are wrong? Today, we're exploring one of the brain's most fascinating, and dangerous, habits. Why do we judge people so quickly? And what does it reveal about us? Welcome to Hidden Minds. Imagine trying to analyze every person you meet from scratch. Every face. Every voice. Every expression. Every decision. Your brain would become overwhelmed within minutes. To avoid this, your mind relies on mental shortcuts known as heuristics. These shortcuts allow you to make rapid judgments with very little information. Thousands of years ago, these instant decisions helped humans survive. Is this stranger a threat? Can this person be trusted? Should I stay or run? Back then, hesitation could mean death. Today, the world has changed. But our brains haven't changed nearly as fast. Instead of judging predators, we judge personalities. Instead of avoiding danger, we avoid people who simply look different from us. Our ancient survival system is still running, only now it's making decisions in situations where speed isn't always wisdom. Picture your first week at a new job. There's one coworker who barely speaks. They don't join conversations. They eat lunch alone. Almost everyone assumes they're cold, unfriendly, or arrogant. Months later, you discover something unexpected. They're actually incredibly kind. They're simply shy. Or maybe they're dealing with anxiety. Nothing about them changed. Only your understanding did. The person you judged wasn't different. Your story about them was. This happens every day. Silence is mistaken for pride. Confidence is mistaken for arrogance. Kindness is mistaken for weakness. We don't judge reality. We judge our interpretation of reality. Imagine walking home at night. Ahead of you is someone wearing a dark hoodie. Without thinking, your heart beats a little faster. You grip your phone tighter. Maybe you even cross the street. A few minutes later, the stranger walks into a nearby hospital. They pull off the hoodie, revealing a nurse who has just finished a 12-hour shift. Nothing about that person changed. Only the context did. Our brains often confuse appearance with character. One piece of clothing. One facial expression. One hairstyle. And suddenly we've created an entire personality. It's astonishing how confidently we can be completely wrong. Now think about social media. You see someone posting luxury vacations, designer clothes, perfect relationships, smiling in every photo. Within seconds, many people assume they're shallow. They're showing off. They've never struggled. But social media is a highlight reel. Behind those pictures may be loneliness, debt, heartbreak, or years of silent sacrifice. Likewise, someone who posts very little may be labeled boring or antisocial. In reality, they're simply living their life offline. The internet gives us tiny fragments. Our minds turn them into complete biographies. There's another reason we judge people so quickly. Our brains are constantly searching for patterns. If someone reminds us of a person who once hurt us, we may unconsciously assume they'll behave the same way. Maybe you once had a dishonest friend who always smiled and complimented everyone. Years later, when you meet someone with that same cheerful personality, a quiet voice in your mind whispers, "Be careful. The new person hasn't done anything wrong." But your past is speaking louder than your present. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as our brains using previous experiences to predict future outcomes. While this can protect us from genuine danger, it can also prevent us from seeing people for who they truly are. In a way, we're not meeting new people. We're meeting old memories wearing new faces. Think back to your first day at school. Perhaps there was a classmate you instantly disliked for no clear reason. Maybe they seemed too confident. Maybe they didn't talk to anyone. Maybe they looked different from everyone else. Then months passed. You worked on a group project together, laughed over something silly, and eventually became close friends. Looking back, it's almost funny how wrong your first impression was. Yet we continue trusting those first impressions every single day. There's also something called confirmation bias. Once we've decided what kind of person someone is, our brains begin searching for evidence that proves we're right. If we think someone is rude, every small mistake they make strengthens that belief. If they forget to say hello, we think, "I knew it." But when they do something kind, we often ignore it because it doesn't fit the story we've already written. Instead of changing our opinion, we change the way we interpret their actions. Without realizing it, we become detectives searching only for evidence that supports our first judgment. There's another trap our minds fall into. It's called the halo effect. When someone has one quality we admire, maybe they're attractive, well-dressed, confident, or successful. We often assume they possess many other positive qualities as well. We think they're smarter, kinder, more trustworthy, more capable. But none of those conclusions are based on evidence. They're based on one single impression. The opposite can happen too. If someone has one characteristic we dislike, our brains may unfairly assume the worst about everything else. One awkward moment becomes proof they're strange. One mistake becomes proof they're incompetent. One disagreement becomes proof they're a bad person. It's remarkable how quickly a single detail can color the way we see an entire human being. And perhaps the greatest irony is this. Every single one of us has been judged unfairly by someone else. Maybe someone assumed you were unfriendly because you were quiet. Maybe they thought you were weak because you were kind. Maybe they underestimated your intelligence because you were nervous. Or maybe they believed your smile meant your life was perfect, never realizing the battles you were fighting in silence. It hurts when people misunderstand us. Yet without realizing it, we often do the very same thing to others. Imagine if every person you've ever met had judged you solely by your worst day. The day you were stressed. The day you were impatient. The day you were overwhelmed. Would that version truly represent who you are? Probably not. And if that's true for you, it's probably true for everyone else. This doesn't just affect strangers. It can quietly damage friendships, families, classrooms, and workplaces. How many misunderstandings begin because someone assumed they knew another person's intentions without ever asking? A delayed reply becomes disrespect. A serious expression becomes anger. A short conversation becomes rejection. Sometimes people aren't angry. They're simply exhausted. Sometimes they're not ignoring you. They're overwhelmed. And sometimes the stories we create hurt both ourselves and the people around us. The truth is, every person you meet is fighting battles you cannot see. Behind every face is a lifetime of experiences, disappointments, dreams, fears, and memories that shaped who they are. No first impression could ever capture all of that. Perhaps that's why empathy is so powerful. Empathy doesn't ask, "What do I think about this person?" It asks, "What might I not know?" That single question has the power to replace assumptions with understanding, judgment with compassion, and strangers with genuine human connection. Here's the surprising part. The way we judge others often reveals more about ourselves than about them. Our fears, our experiences, our upbringing, our culture, our insecurities. They all shape the stories we tell ourselves about strangers. Two people can meet the exact same person and walk away with completely different impressions. Because they weren't seeing the same individual. They were seeing that individual through different mental filters. Judgment isn't always about truth. Sometimes it's simply a reflection of our own hidden mind. Perhaps that's why the most compassionate people aren't the ones who never judge. They're the ones who recognize that their first judgment might be incomplete. They stay curious. They ask questions. They give people the chance to surprise them. And more often than not, they do. The next time you instantly dislike someone, or admire someone, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, do I actually know this person, or have I only met the story my brain created? Sometimes the biggest barrier between two people isn't distance. It's a first impression. And those first impressions can be incredibly difficult to erase. So here's today's question. Think about the last person you judged within seconds of meeting them. Were you right, or did you eventually discover you were completely wrong? Share your experience in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this exploration, like, subscribe, and join us for more journeys into the hidden psychology behind everyday life. Until next time, keep exploring your hidden mind.